happy to have with us, let me see those who are also still in class. VC Badon still there. Professor Michael Fabrode sent a message. He has left for a meeting. Professor, let's say, Professor Juma Shabani and the others. So you are all warmly welcome to this second lecture, which is going to be another 5-star lecture for today. I will introduce our professor. Let me share my screen with you. The lecturer for today is Dr. Associate Professor Rasheed Sanni, who earned his PhD from University of Witwatersrand. That's one of the leading universities in Africa. Mind how I pronounced it, University of the Wit. It's as if you're pronouncing a V, not wit. It's actually shortened as Wits, V-I-T-S, Wits, but it's wit. That's the spelling. University of Witwatersrand in South Africa. And it specializes in teacher knowledge, teachers learning, and their teaching practices. He's in mass education, as I said, education and research, education statistics, that's what he teaches, and he supervises undergraduate and postgraduate students in maths education and related disciplines. Within this developing world, Dr. Sanni trains in-service secondary school mathematics teachers, primary school teachers, non-formal learning facilitators, and volunteer teachers, especially in emergencies. Professor Sanni, so you shouldn't be here now. It should be emergency. You should be on emergency teaching COVID-19 people. His current research interest is on teachers' practices as they are implicated by teachers' knowledge, and how both of them relate to and are implicated in secondary school students' achievements in mathematics. He's also interested in different categories of teachers' talk and students' contribution as they are implicated secondary school students' achievements in mathematics. Dr. Sanni is a member of the Mathematical Association of Nigeria, Science Teachers Association of Nigeria, Southern African Association for Research in Maths and Science and Technology Education, and Association of Maths Education of South Africa. He has authored and or co-authored about 40 articles in learned journals, book chapters, training manuals, and books. As you can see, I said that Professor Sanni went to University of Witwatersrand. So at the close of this his presentation, I'm going to ask Professor Idowola Yinka, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan, to present his appreciation plaque to him. The reason being that when Professor Abdallah Adamu was, when he made his presentation last week, he abused us thoroughly. He abused us. He abused me, as and that's jokingly said. And the vice of Ibadan that our university was a study center of the University of London. So I need Professor Idowola Yinka to present to Rasheed Sanni from the Vice Chancellor of a university that used to be study center that Professor Rasheed Sanni did not attend. So it's now my pleasure to invite Dr. Rasheed Sanni. He didn't send me his picture, that's why he's not here, to make his presentation on developing online questionnaire. Dr. Rasheed Sanni.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
I want to thank you very sincerely, our dear distinguished Professor Peter Okebukola, the Facilitator General himself. Your real leadership in the center and that of our indefatigable Vice Chancellor is taking lastly to a very greater height.
Thank God.
And we all have both of you to thank very sincerely for that. To all the juggernauts in the House, former Vice Chancellors, I'd like to specifically mention Professor Aribabu, the Vice Chancellor of Taswed University, my professional father in this field, the DVCs that are in the House, professors that are in the House, distinguished colleagues that are in the House, dear students. I feel highly humbled standing before you to deliver a lecture on this topic as part of our ACE 811911 lecture. I appreciate you all, and I do hope that you are going to have a very joyful and sumptuous delivery. The title is Conducting Online Service. And when I got this title, I looked at those two before it and the first one. I found that quite a lot of what I should be talking about have been spoken about. But that's not to say that we are not going to get something new in this. Ladies and gentlemen, as researchers, at one time or the other, or quite often I should say, we think about how to get respondents to respond to our instruments. We think about how to organize completed questionnaires even when they get back to us completed. We think about how to do data entry. We think about how to ensure that what was written by the respondent is actually entered by those that are entering data for us on our system. Today, with online survey, quite a number of these should become a thing of the past. You know why? Because there is an online survey that gets to the respondent, and as the respondent is completing it, the data is coming to you on the spot. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, it is.
And that's what we want to show to ourselves some hints about how to conduct online survey. My slide, okay, yeah, it is. Where are we? You will realize that about 3 weeks ago, Professor Kebukola and his team conducted an online survey asking us to talk about what our level of competencies are in each of those topics that we'll be teaching in this course.
Wonderful.
One of them is conducting online survey. And the report of that survey suggested to us that 9 out of 77 of us are excellent in terms of conducting online survey. That makes me happy, at least in the fact that I'm not going to be the only one who understands what is going on here. If there are questions that I couldn't answer, I know that my distinguished professor is there who will be able to answer them. And I know that there are 9 other people, at least from the audience, who have been using online surveys and will come in at one point or the other. We also find in that about, I will put this at about 22, 23, says they have 4 out of 5 in terms of their expertise in conducting online survey. But where are we? What are we planning to do in this presentation? We are planning to take all of us. We are planning to take all of us that are here. About, I'll put it as 6, 7, another 6, 7, and even those that are fair, 3 out of 5 is not good enough. This is a center of excellence. We expect everybody to be in this blue category, and that's the thing that we'll be attempting to do in this presentation. Let me first of all warn that by the objectives, at the end of it, this is what we intend to have achieved in almost all of us, if not all. But I want to say that this is not actually a once-off thing. I also looked at our schedule for Saturday workshop, and I found that there is actually going to be a workshop on this. So this should be seen as a prelude to that, something that is to whet our appetite in expectation of that workshop. So we'll try as much as possible to understand or describe what an online survey is, explain the process involved in conducting online surveys, discuss 3 software or application, if you like, for conducting online survey, and recognize the basic tools or menus that you can find on online survey sites. The instrument for online, we also hope that by the end you have an idea of how to design an instrument for online survey and conduct online survey. Before now, we had Professor Adishokwe, distinguished Professor Kebukola, and just recently, the last lecture of today, we had Dr. Michael Ahove giving us some of those things that we'll be hearing there. So if I, by any chance, come across any slide that is talking about those, I'll just glimpse through it so that we can have maximum benefit of the time that we have. When we talk about description of an online survey, we find that it is actually a system. I call it a complete system because it has built in it, it's able to deploy data collection instrument to participants online. The participant gets to complete it online. It also collects the responses online and do basic statistical analysis. Basically, it has the following features.
Yeah, hello.
To the respondents complete it. As the respondents are completing the instrument, once they click on the button submit, the whole data as written by the respondent gets to the back house for the researcher to see. Okay. Database, it also has database to store the responses that is supplied by the respondent. And it has some statistical tools that gives you basic descriptives and analytics of the responses that has been supplied to you by your respondent. It has quite a number of advantages, but I like to, since you'll be having this presentation, I like to just talk about only two of them that appeals to me very maximally, and that is the fact that there is an on-the-spot data entry. If there have been times when you have a huge set of data standing on your table, under your bed, anywhere, and you keep thinking about how do I deal with this data? If you use online survey, then that thought will become a thing of the past, because as the respondent is completing the questionnaire or the form or whatever is the instrument, is you are getting your data entered immediately. The automatic entry, that is the second advantage that I like to talk about. The automatic data entry ensures that accurate data is entered. So you're thinking about whether what was actually written by the respondent was actually typed for you on the system is a thing of the past. And for those two reasons and many more, as you can see on this slide, I would always, wherever it is possible, go for an online survey, and I can call you to also do the same. You have a few disadvantages, actually. For instance, using online survey demands that you put as one of your parameters for sampling access to the internet. So imagine that an important part of your supposed respondents do not have access to the internet. At the point of data sampling, at the point of sampling for the research, you have to, first of all, think about those. But there is a way to go around it. That is bringing in some other people that you might want to call research assistants to help in collecting data from such people. But primarily, online surveys are supposed to be completed by oneself. Okay, so I see that as one of the advantages, and a few others. I'm not going to be wasting our time too much on that because we're going to be having these slides. To plan an online survey, Professor Adesope, Distinguished Professor Kebukola, actually Distinguished Professor Adesope, Distinguished Professor Kebukola, Dr. Michael Ahove has spoken to us about this sequence. We have a set of research questions. We look at the set of research questions that we have to generate items that will go into our instrument, and then we design the instrument. But there are quite a number of things that happen in between this. For instance, between research question and thinking about items that go into the instrument, we have what we might want to look at as data for the questions, data that allows you to answer the research questions that you have designed. What data do I need to be able to consider this research question or to be able to test this research hypothesis that are generated in this study? Think about those things. Also think about what instrument gives me the maximum opportunity of generating this kind of data that I'm talking about. Now, the other thing that we need to be thinking about in between is when we know the questions that we want to put in our instrument, we know the kind of instrument that we want to be putting in the instrument. We know the kind of instrument that we want to use to gather the questions together. We also need to be thinking about what response format. Dr. Michael Ahove spoke quite a lot about the kind of different kinds of response format. So I will not be wasting so much time on that, but I need to mention that. And then we need to also think about administration format. The one that concerns me most in this presentation is the response format, because all online survey applications they work on basically similar principles. And they will be asking you, as person that is designing questionnaire, that is designing online form, or that is designing any online data collection instrument, what kind of response format do you expect for each of the items or for each of the questions that you put on the instrument? And that leads us to administration format. Administration formats, for instance, you have it on a sheet of paper, and you just send it to people to respond to it, and you collect your sheet of paper back. That is a manual one, and that is something that we are drifting away from these days. But the one that we are talking about here is the online survey, getting your respondents to respond to your instruments via the internet. To administer surveys online, draft item, what we know up till this moment from what we have heard from all of the previous presenters, are that items are ready, and together with that, the sections that we are going to be putting them in, together with the formats also. Section A is going to be demographic information. Section B is going to be on teachers' qualification or teachers' attitude. Section C is going to, you have had that, and you have the questions somewhere. And in terms of administration, you have said we are going for online. So we need to then be thinking about which of the online survey application, or if you like, survey software, do you want to use? There are three common ones that I'm going to be presenting to us. The first one is SOSI. Actually, some people will say social sciences survey. There is also the monkey survey, and there is the third one, which is the Google form. The SOSI is coming with so many restrictions if you are not paying for it. And all of them have the free versions. And since we are students, I would imagine that we always want to go for the free version. And in going for the free version, we need to get the one that will give us maximum benefit. Thinking about the one that will give us maximum benefit, I think the Google form is the one, because it comes with little or no restrictions, is the one that we will always be going for. We're going to have a tour around the Google form so that we see how we can begin to use it and to get what the maximum benefits that it has. To design online instruments, we have to design the instrument before we can take it to the field. We have the sections typed out, like I said, usually whether in Microsoft Word or wherever. Once you have the section, the questions out, what you need to now think about is what response format do you consider for each of these. There is the open-ended format of response, which Dr. Michael Aoube spoke about. There's also the close-ended format. I like to talk about both of these actually, because it is slightly different in terms of how do we put it on the instrument when it is online. If you are putting it on a paper, if it is an open-ended instrument, you just put the question, how do you see CTCA being taken to classrooms in Lagos State? And then you draw like 5 lines or 6 lines for your respondents to put their response. If it is online, you just need to press a button and say paragraph. And then it just will tell you that it is paragraph. But when you look at the output, you will see like 5, 6 lines provided for the respondents to type in. In fact, you won't even see the 6 lines. It will just allow the respondents to type as many sentences as they like in response to that question. Whether you put lines or there is even no opportunity for you to put the lines. And you are going to see that one in a short while. The close-ended, Dr. Michael Aoube spoke about it. You have the dichotomous, and you have the multiple choice. The dichotomous from the word die has only 2 possible options. But the important thing is that whether it is dichotomous or it is multiple choice, one with 3, 4, 5, 6 options, the respondent is only allowed to pick only one. And it can come as a drop down or it can come as a list. Okay, I'm going to show you what each of those looks like when we get to a tour of the Google Form environment. We also have checkboxes. In checkboxes, we can have as many as applicable to each respondent to be checked, to be check marked. They just put, as they're clicking it, a mark is put in the boxes. So you consider that you have an item that says which of these provides you with computer to use at any time you want to use a computer. And the options are a personal laptop, a personal PC in office, or tabletop in office, a tablet, a friend's laptop. All of those are options. So if you have access to any of those or two or three of those, check boxes allow you to tick each of them. That is different slightly from multiple choice as used in online surveys, because multiple choice will only allow your respondents to pick only one. So you need to be able to draw a distinction between multiple choice items and check boxes. We also have skills. The most common of the skills is the Likert skill, which asks the respondent to say whether they agree or disagree and provides a continuum that says strongly disagree, disagree, agree, and strongly agree. And they can pick whichever one suits their response. There's a semantic differential. That's the one that Dr. Aube referred to, rightly so, as bipolar. But what it really does is to allow your respondents to pick a value from the values that you are providing for them to score or to rate their performance of a particular skill. Okay, or to say the level of their agreement with a particular statement. And I'm going to show some examples of those. The bipolar means that at one end of the continuum, you have an adjective that qualifies what the respondent might think. And at the other end, you have another adjective that qualifies what the respondents might be thinking about. So for instance, you can have excellent, or you can have frequently, seldomly. You can have, oh, this one I wrote string. The word there should have actually been strong or weak and so on. We need to mention that usually you will say, and I'm sure you will have seen it before, in particularly the instruments that we use to collect your level of competence in each of these topics. We will have said 1 represents poor and 5 represent excellent. So if you score yourself like 3, then it means you are fair in that particular topic. So things like that are also possible in online surveys. Response format. Okay, I did say that the way I planned this thing is to show you what each of the response format will look like on your instrument, on your screen as you are typing it. And then when we go to the environment, we show you further how to create items with different kinds of response formats. So if you say comment freely on your ICT needs, that is something that the researcher cannot think about what the respondent will be saying and put all of them down for them to pick from. So that will obviously be a long answer text. And to choose a long answer text, I'll show you how to do it when we get to the Google Form environment. This is obviously an open-ended item. Consider that you are interested in the sex of your respondents and you put it like this, male, female. This is a dichotomous response format and you have presented them or the responses by listing them. The other way to do that is by putting it as a drop-down like we saw in the previous slide. You say your sex. What the respondent will need to do is once he clicks on this arrow down, he's going to see male and female. And once he taps on any of them, it's going to be returned to the backdrop server as the response of that respondent. It's also a close-ended, but it's using the dichotomous. Dichotomous because there are 2 possible options. And drop-down because it is not listed in this manner. It is actually presented as a drop-down. And to see what is there, the respondent will have to click this button for it to come down. I'm going to show you when we get to the Google Form environment very shortly.
15 minutes
You
more.
see what I was...
15 minutes more.
All right, so I'll move first. You see what I was talking about, free response. It will just say long answer text. So once you click on this, you can type as many as you want, especially if the researcher has chosen paragraph. This one is asking, on the average, how much do you spend on data per month? And can somebody look at think about what this one will be? It's obviously a close-ended multiple choice, and the format is by listing. This one is the semantics, very poor at one end, excellent at the other, and you can pick your response. This is like the one that we use in the conduct of the survey that we had 3 weeks ago about the level of our expertise in the different topics in 811-911. Response format, this one is the difference between this, the check boxes. These are check boxes. So this one allows you to pick as many as applicable to you of these responses. The difference that it has. What it's asking is, what kind of internet access do you have? Please check mark as many as applicable. So if you have a personal Wi-Fi, you click this and it will allow you. If you have a personal modem, you click that. If you have everything, you click everything. But I need to mention one thing. There is usually maybe seldom, maybe not frequently. You put down all of these things. You need to remember that, particularly if you have said this question is a required question, there is a non-required question. A required question means that the respondent must answer it. Now, if you are using this, you need to always provide for none. Because if none of this is applicable to a particular respondent and there is no none, you won't be able to pick anything. This has happened to me before, and the consequences was high for me. And since then, I learned that we always will have to put none. That's why I'm mentioning it here. Okay, we spoke about this software before, and I'm putting them here so that we can be clicking them and getting somewhere. But we'll come back there. We should note that all of them operate basically on the same set of...
10 minutes more.
All right, sir. The Google Form is the one that we said we're going to be focusing highly on, and it's because the free version is actually free without any form of restrictions. Now, the Google Form has, just like the others, it has the following features. There is what we call the form title. That's what the Dr. Michael Aove referred to as the title of the questionnaire. There's a space for you to put the title, and there's a space for you to give a brief description, the sort of like introduction, telling the respondents what the purpose is and assuring them of anonymity and confidentiality. There's also the item workspace. There is the design menu, form design menu that has response format menu where you can pick the type of response format that you want for a particular item. There is the question and section menu where you can say, I want to add another question, or I want to introduce another section. That is that menu. You also have the real form menu, the entire form menu. It's usually situated at the top of the Google Form. Let's just go there and see how.
It's better. Let's go to the practice. It's better.
Okay. When you go to Google Form, the first thing that comes to you is the untitled form. If you click on this, it's going to allow you to type, and what is expected there is the title of the questionnaire on the efficacy of cultural contextual approach to the teaching of, say, mathematics or biology. And you have a brief discussion soliciting their support to be part of the research and assuring them of confidentiality and anonymity. It asks you the kind of questions there. I think we should go to the one that gives us this thing online. This is what I call the question format menu. You can pick whichever one. For this particular question, the designer has put multiple choice. And this one is the one I call the tools menu. We'll see how each of them works when we get there very shortly. This is an interesting one. once you open your Google form and you are on this, you will see that this one is underlined. It means that you are seeing the questions as contained in the form. But when you click on this, it will be underlined. It means that you are going to be seeing the responses as provided by the respondents. By the way, what this one is showing is that there have been 131 responses for this particular instrument. Okay, we would now go to the environment itself. Let's just click here. Okay, I'm going to delete this so that you see. Once you are there, this is what comes out. And once you highlight it, it allows you to highlight, or you see the blink here and put the name of your questionnaire there.
5 more minutes.
Yes, sir. And then you come here, give a brief description and give them an assurance of anonymity and confidentiality. Now, here, this is where the real work is. You need to put a question. Let's say you say sex, okay? And the system sometimes recognizes the kind of responses that you might need. If you want it as sex can only be a multiple choice, and then you give 2 options, or it can be in a drop down. And you can say the first one is male, and the second one, once you type enter, it goes to the second one, and you put your female there. And you can see the drop down there. To see how it's going to look like, you can come and press preview there, and you see what it looks like. We really will have enough time to do all of this when we get back to the workshop version of it. But I need to show some more. Okay, this is the short answer. It's open-ended, but the answers are short. Okay, maybe 1 line, maximum 2 lines. This is paragraph. The answers are longer. Okay, this is multiple choice, we spoke about that. This is check boxes, we spoke about that. Drop down, we spoke about it. File upload. You might have a file that you want to upload, and so on. This is the linear scale, the one that works with bipolar responses. At one end, you might use 1 or 0 if you like, and at the other end, you want to have 10. The common ones are 5, 7, and 10. But that's not to say that you cannot use a different number if you feel strongly about that. Grid is like you have a table, different rows, different columns, and you want your respondents to complete it. This is another tool, the one I call the another menu tool, menu for us. If you click on it, it says you want to add another question. So you see, giving us another question environment. If you click on this, and the good thing about it is that it's quite interactive. This one says import question. This one says title and description and so on like that. There are quite a number of other things. This is the response that I was trying to tell you. It says 0 response because it is just a new form that we have not deployed. We also need to talk a little about setting. And that is where how you set your instrument for deployment to your respondents. This is general. Collect email. Because of anonymity, I usually don't click on this. But if you say they should do only 1 response, yes, as researchers want to collect only 1 response. But if you click on this, it's going to be asking them to see. It says respondent will be required to sign into Google. And if you don't have Google account, you cannot sign into Google. So clicking on this, I usually don't want to advise people to do it because you don't know who your respondents are. So if you click on this, you are limiting your the responses that will come into only those who have Google accounts. So please don't, especially because you have other alternatives. If you click on this, what it's saying is that respondents can go back and edit even after they have submitted, but it doesn't do anything to what they have submitted. They will just only be able to edit their own part and then resubmit again. Presentation tells us about what we need to do before we send it out. Show link for another response. Sometimes I click on this depending on who my respondents are, and I'll give you an instance. I know that I want to send this thing to some people using the WhatsApp platform. And I know that some people might say they don't have data. Some people might say they don't even have a phone that can allow them to use Google. So if you click on that, others that have Google or that have data can help those other people to still complete the form. And here is the kind of message that you want your respondent to see after submission. It's usually very simple. Thank you for submitting. You have successfully submitted the completed form. Thank you for being part of this. If you type this one here, once somebody submits a data to completed form to you, it sees that response. I think I will want to go back to the Can you see my slide? So I should.
No, not yet. But we have just 1 minute, and we're going to stop in 1 minute.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll do it.
All right. Okay.
It's the summary. Yeah. You will see that we have been able to describe what an online survey is, explain the processes involved in it. We also shared with ourselves the 3 common software or applications that we can use for online survey, and we took a very brief tour of the tools and menus using the Google Form software. The hope is that designing instruments or conducting online survey will be made easier for us the next time we choose to do so. Thank you so very much.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much, Professor Rasheed Sanni. It's now time to engage him in a few comments, questions, and answers as he has indicated on the screen. From Burundi, if you want to take the floor, just raise your hand. The Burundi doctoral students, especially those in year 2, you will recall that we had some nice session on this topic last session when I taught you the course, and all of you had wonderful submissions for your projects on the course using online surveys. Somebody asked, I think yesterday it was, about sampling, that if you are using online survey, we were taught yesterday advanced sampling techniques, that we need to stratify and we need to do all of those things that were mentioned by the presenter, by the professor. So the question is, I mean, if you are using online survey, how do you, that's by Professor Sam Bandele, former Vice Chancellor of Ekiti State University, when he taught us yesterday, on Saturday, by the way. So how do you do sampling with online surveys? That's a question I'm going to ask Professor Sanni to note and then respond to. So Burundi, anybody from Burundi? Yeah, that's Soter. Soter, you have the floor from Burundi.
Yes, thank you, distinguished professor.
Thank you.
I would like also to thank Professor Rasheed for his clear presentation.
Thank you.
And as you know, I'm from Burundi, a country in which most people don't have access to internet facilities. But as you are aware of that, you can administer the questionnaire manually, but using ICT, not papers, not writing on papers. Using ICT like smartphones. I would like to ask Professor Rasheed if he is aware of that, and ask to you as the organizer if there is room for such a training in this Center of Excellence, like constructing and administering questionnaires using smartphones, for example. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much. That's a very brilliant question. We're always getting very brilliant questions from Burundi doctoral school and also from all the other places. So next is Ghana. Ghana, do you want to take the floor?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. And then a very good presentation by Professor Rasheed. Now, my question is, I've had this understanding over time that with a Google form, you can generate graphs and charts and all of that. I want to ask, is it possible to do other statistical analysis like chi-square, correlation, and all others using Google form?
Sir Fred,
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You know, something is cheap. You want to, what can you get from a cheap facility? You want to, well, Professor Rashid will answer you. But this thing is cheap now, it's free. You want it to do everything for you. It don't do graph for you. You want it to do chi-square, ANOVA, MANOVA, and factor analysis. You go try. Maybe Professor Rashid has it. All right, so let us take on, we have done DRC. We have done no, DRC. Where's DRC? Anybody from DRC? Just take the floor because I'm scrolling across the class.
Roger.
Roger, okay, please, Roger, take the floor. DRC, take the floor.
Thank you, Professor. I would like to know.
Can you turn your can you turn your video so that we can see your face? We're only seeing from your nose.
Great. I would like that to know in when we have a population which is analphabetic and you want to use ICT for collecting data, or you have an online questionnaire, what to do in that case?
Okay. What he means, analphabetic means they're not literate. You want to come to Motion Market and you want to give online questionnaire to the Motion Market woman. So what do you think? So let us go to the last one. That is Nigeria. Alade Okin, you have the floor. Alade Okin, you have the floor. Alade Okin is already recording. Okay, go ahead, Alade Okin.
Professor, and well done, sir, to Professor Sanni for this wonderful presentation. Now, sir, I want to know, there is this organization I always respond to their questionnaire. They normally send it to the phone, you reporter. I believe they use it to gather information from people from time to time about what is happening in the environment. What kind of instrument can we call that? Is that also Google form? Since this one is not Google shape, it's not internet based. It's only the phone. You just send the question to the phone. You can send about 5 questions at a time to know what is really happening in the environment. Maybe at times on health issues, regarding COVID-19 or a pandemic started. So they'll be sending questions to me from time to time to ask about the pandemic.
Okay, you have asked your question. That is very fine. That's very fine. Thank you very much. That's a very good question. And it relates to the question that our colleague from the University of Burundi Doctoral School asked. How do you deploy a questionnaire on the smartphone that people carry around? I asked that you put that as part of the course, and we'd like to thank him for making the suggestion. We will ensure that that happens. Now, before I now yield to our lecturer, let me mute everybody again. Before I yield to our lecturer, there's a word that Alade Okin used just now, and it's a very interesting word, the way he pronounced it. That word is Google. So I hear people say Google. It's not Google. There are 2 O's there. It's not Google like Google Glass. It's Google. So all of you, please, in our class, pronounce that word Google, not Google. So Alade Okin, you are there. You are going to call the thing Google 3 times. So Alade Okin, you have the floor. Say Google 3 times.
Google.
Very good. I'm just joking. That's fine. That's fine. So let me, just a minute now. Let me yield to our professor, Rasheed Sanni, to answer the questions. Over to you. In 3 minutes, because we're almost out of time. 3 minutes. Professor Sanni.
All right, sir. Thank you so very much, sir. And thanks for those questions from those participants. I'd like to take the last one.
Sanni, can you move to the center of your screen? We're only seeing your room somewhere. Move to the center of your screen, just like you can see me in the center, if you don't mind.
I'm in the center now, sir.
Let's see. Okay, we'll see.
All right, thank you. The question by Alade Okin about receiving online service. It doesn't have to be on any of these three softwares that I just presented to you. They are software and they are been produced for public use. Organizations can sit down and develop their own. So if they sit down and develop their own, they don't have to deploy it through Google or through OC or through SurveyMonkey. I worked for several organizations that have inbuilt privately built software for collecting data. But the point we are making is that even at the point of design, they operate basically on the same principles and the deployments too. There are organizations that will say our instruments should just be on our tablets, and then they give the tablet to data collection and else to go to the field and collect. And in fact, and I think Google too can do that. They put in something that tells them exactly what time the thing was done and at which exact location the data was collected. All of those are variables that we can add on here and there. But the point that we need to stress is that organizations can sit down and develop their own. It's an app. Organizations can develop an app for doing anything, including data science. Collective population. Ladies and gentlemen, online survey just gives us an opportunity of data collection. Even if you have an alphabetic population and you want to use paper and pencil form, a questionnaire that is on paper, the fact that they are alphabetic means that you need to get research assistants or data collection personnel that will go sit down with them, questionnaire with them, and then bring it for as the researcher. Everything will happen here. You deploy it the way you want to deploy it, get your research assistant. If you click on that possibility, that button that allows you to fill another form, that's what you get for your research assistant. And as an alphabetic participant, they read the question to him or her. The responses are recorded accordingly as provided for in your instrument. And then once this 1 minute more, then we can go to the next person. Now starts. I think this has been answered by the professor. What are distinguished? What the Google form and others that are for commercial purposes? Those what they do rather is prevent you with descriptives, analytic, a brief, something that tells you that this is the number of people that are saying that are saying that, and they will go ahead and put it in graphs for you. If you want chi-square, analysis of variance, analysis of covariance, ANCOVA, and all of those, you need some other software. For instance, your SPSS, which I'm sure you know about. No access to internet, and then you find a way. There are ways of completing this such that all what you are completing will be stored in your system, on your phone, if you are or your laptop, or even your tablet, until when you get to a location where there is internet.
Time is up, Brother Sanni.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you so very much for this wonderful lecture and for the variable way in which you have answered all our questions. I'm going to mute everybody again because there's some noise coming from somewhere. Yes, the noise is gone. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, dear class, this is time to appreciate a great scholar, a great maths education professor. And I'm going to invite, as I hinted at the beginning, Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan to make a presentation in appreciation of what he has done, for us today. So let me get the VC of Great University of Ibadan to make the presentation. Yes, sir. Go ahead, VC, sir.
Oh, it's not. Is it the whole screen?
Yeah.
I think this is it. Thank you, sir. I think my task is fairly straightforward. Just before doing that, I'd like to especially commend distinguished Professor Peter Okebukola.
Thank you, sir,
for putting this program together. Yeah, because all of us know the trajectory of Professor Okebukola. He was Executive Secretary of NUC for so many years, and even though he refused getting a second term, but he went back to the classroom to continue to provide leadership. And beyond his academics, I was at a meeting in December in London, and one of our colleagues, Vice Chancellor of the University in Ghana, he said anytime he has a problem as to the way forward, that he will just go to consult Professor Kebukola's publication, Anthology of Exemplary Practices of Vice Chancellor. So I think I'd like to put this one on record. Now to the, I will respect you so much. How you get your energy, I don't know. I believe you have more than 24 hours in a day, and I'm not trying to flatter you. My students know that I'm not a particularly lenient examiner, so I'm not assessing you, but I envy you, your energy, your drive, your initiative, sir. And I think it's worth commending. You remain a mentor to many of us, even at a distance. So on behalf of the Africa Center of Excellence for Innovative and Transformative STEM Education, a World Bank supported project, we'd like to commend Dr. Rasheed, Sanni, Associate Professor at LASU, for facilitating this course. I think for many of us, it has been an eye-opener. We learned a few things. Some of us are not trained teachers. And I'd like to plead with Professor Kebukola to give us a certificate of participation at the end of this program. I think it's what I'd like to put it in my CV. So thank you, sir. And I congratulate Professor Rasheed, Sanni. I think we can call you Professor now. As far as we are concerned, you deserve to be a professor for any world-class university, whether in Nigeria or elsewhere. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so very much, Vice Chancellor, University of Ibadan, our great boss. So I'm going to unmute everybody, and we are going to give a round of applause to Professor Rasheed Sanni for the job very well done. So thank you, one and all. I'll just scroll and to see you all. Professor Ochinze, we see you, reach you. Professor Tunde Owolabi, Professor Aribabu was moving around just by way of curiosity. Professor Aribabu, VC, we can see you are
Yes,
in
sir.
the car. You are seeing the car.
I'm now in the office. I'm working in the office
You
now.
are working in the office now. Wow, this is so there are some market women around the place, so that's fine. We're going to administer questionnaire to those market women that are making noise in the background. So we'd like to end the class for today. Tomorrow is another day at 10 a.m. Let me yeah, tomorrow is another day, and tomorrow people are not getting muted. Let me try again. Okay. Tomorrow, as you can see from our program, let me go back to that program so that we'll use it as we'll wrap up for today. So as you can see from our screen, we've just done this too. It's 12 noon by my time, a minute past 12 noon. So we're able, thanking God, to complete this. And then tomorrow is going to be a live lecture by Emeritus Professor Olugberu Jogede, as I mentioned to you, a great ODL practitioner, former Vice Chancellor, National Open University of Nigeria. He's going to have a nice session with us tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we will have this is going to be an earth-shaking day. Professor Iduwola Yinka and Professor Jomo Mutegi from the US, Wednesday. Then on Thursday, you have discussion. Friday, you have the quiz. And then Saturday, you have the workshop. You see, before we all go, maybe I'll mention this to you all. You know, it's important that people who deliver open and distance learning, they should deliver it in a way that will be this interactive. What I've found is that you deliver open and distance learning. In fact, in the National Open University of Nigeria, we're trying to do something in National Open University of Nigeria. We have 525,000 students enrolled in that university. And the Minister of Education gave me a charge. I'm the chairman of council of that university. That, look, yes, you have a large number. Ensure that you have quality. And so in another few months, we were to have a workshop for all our facilitators. Let me tell you a typical thing that happens in a typical open and distance learning program in Nigeria, at least. You pay, they will then go and download course materials and then do all of this. And these students who are in our open and distance learning program these days are people who are youth, not people who are working. Although the open and distance learning system, it should be likely for instance, the motto of our university is work and learn. So it should be working and then learning. But 80%, ladies and gentlemen, 80% of the students in our university have no work. So it's better to get them engaged like this. This model, in my view, is the best model for them to see who is teaching them, for them to do all the activities, for them to do discussion forum, to make it active like this. So we're going to change our delivery system 360 degrees in the National Open University and be sure that we get a better deal for that university. So on that note, I'd like to thank you one and all again and thank our presenters, Professor Michael Ove, Professor for the job very well done. So I see you tomorrow at 9:30. Bye-bye, one and all. Thank you.